Now moving on to another interesting topic, that is eligibility of ITC on sales promotion expenses. It is a general industry practice to distribute free goods and services in the course or furtherance of business as a part of marketing strategy in order to boost sales. Now, let us understand the legal provisions relating to eligibility of ITC. Section 16 of the CGST Act allows a registered person to avail ITC of input tax charged on supply of goods or services used or intended to be used in the course or furtherance of business. Further, Section 17(5) of the CGST Act acts as an antithesis to Section 16 of the CGST Act, as it restricts ITC on specified goods and services even if made in the course or furtherance of business. Clause G and Clause H of Section 17(5) are relevant in the instant case. Clause G of Section 17(5) restricts ITC on goods or services used for personal consumption. Further, Clause H restricts ITC on goods disposed by way of gift. In order to address multiple issues relating to eligibility of ITC and promotional schemes, CBIC also issued Circular number 92 in 2019. The circular clarified that in case of buy one get one offer, there is a supply of two goods at a single price, and the taxability depends on whether the supply would qualify as composite or mixed supply. Thus, the goods distributed under promotional schemes are not distributed for free and are supplied in conjunction with the main supply. Also, the circular clarified that ITC will be available on inputs, input services, and capital goods used in the supply of goods and services under such promotional schemes. There has been multiple jurisprudence over eligibility of ITC on sales promotion schemes. In case of Page Industries, the Karnataka AAAR upheld the decision of AAR that ITC shall not be available on carry bags, pens, and uniform distributed as part of promotional schemes. The AAAR observed that these goods are distributed without any consideration, and the supplier was not under any contractual obligation to supply these goods. Thus, it will qualify as distribution of gifts, and thus a restriction under Section 17(5)(h) would be applicable and accordingly disallowed ITC. There has been multiple other cases like Biostat India, Moksha Agarbatti, and Sanofi India, in which the AAR allowed disallowed ITC on the basis of either the basis that the goods were used for personal consumption by retailers or customers, or on the basis that the goods would qualify as gifts, and thus restriction under 17(5)(h) would be applicable. However, in the case of golden tobacco, the Maharashtra AAR held that the supply of additional cigarettes along with the regular packs of cigarette would qualify as supply of two goods at for a single price, and the character of supply would be dependent on whether the supplies would qualify as composite or mixed supply. The AAR also held that ITC will be available as the supply of additional pack of cigarettes will not qualify as gifts, as the supplier was contractually liable to distribute those goods. We also conducted a poll on our LinkedIn page regarding availment of ITC on goods distributed under promotional schemes on fulfillment of targets by dealers or distributors. Interestingly, close to 70% of the voters voted that ITC is available, 28% voted that ITC is not available, and 3% voted that they are not sure. However, the authorities are interpreting the issue otherwise. Now, let us understand the recent ruling in case of eligibility of ITC on sales promotion expenses. In case of GRB Dairy Foods, the applicant was engaged in the supply of ghee and other products, and the applicant entitled its retailers to rewards such as air coolers, televisions, and foreign trips on purchase of specified quantity of goods from the applicant. Such schemes were intimated to the retailers in advance, and it was optional for retailers. The applicant sought advance ruling on eligibility of ITC on inputs and input services used in the supply of promotional items. the AAR observed that the supply of promotional goods will satisfy the condition of Section 16(1) of the CGST Act, as these goods are distributed in the course or furtherance of business. Further, the AAR observed that accounting treatment of promotional schemes will not have any impact on the GST implications of promotional schemes. However, the AAR observed that goods or services under buy and fly scheme are meant for retailers' personal consumption and thus would attract restriction under Section 17(5)(g) of the CGST Act. Moreover, the AAR observed that the distribution of air coolers and televisions would also qualify as gift, as the supplier is not contractually liable to distribute these goods. Thus, restriction under Section 17(5)(h) would also be applicable. And accordingly, the AAR disallowed ITC. In our view, the AAR incorrectly interpreted the meaning of gift as on the basis of dictionary meanings and meanings are given under various acts and other legal references. There are two essential characteristics in case of gifts. First one is that the gifts are supplied voluntarily. That is, there is no legal contractual obligation. And secondly, there is no condition attached to distribution of gifts. In the instant case, the first condition is not satisfied, as the gifts are not distributed voluntarily, but as a part of contractual obligation of the applicant. Further, the gifts are not distributed to all the Further, the goods are not distributed to all the retailers, but only to those retailers who fulfill the criteria specified in the sales promotion schemes. Thus, ITC should be allowed in such cases. With this, I hand over the webinar to Puneet.
Thank you, Tanya. Coming to other rulings, the first and foremost, the Supreme Court ruling in case of Bharti Airtel. So in this case, Bharti discharged its GST liability through cash, and ITC was reflected in 2018, whereas the procurements happened in 2017. This was primarily for the reason that the GST portal activated to a facility in delay. So Bharti sought to rectify the 3B filed by it and made a plea before the High Court that because GSTR 2A was not available, it could not avail ITC. So to that extent, whatever tax has been paid by it in cash in 2017, that ought to be refunded. Delhi High Court allowed the issue in favor of Bharti Airtel, and refund was granted. The revenue went into appeal before the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court overruled the High Court's ruling and held that the common portal is only a facilitator for retrieving information, primary source of information for any taxpayer, because in this context, it was relating to availment of ITCs, invoices, challans, books of accounts, etc. The responsibility of self-assessment is on taxpayer only, and he should correctly self-assess its tax before the filing of returns. It's taxpayer's choice whether to discharge its liability through credit or cash. There is no provision for swapping of entries. So in this context, once Airtel has chosen to pay tax in cash, subsequently it can't say that you allow this adjustment through credit. The Supreme Court categorically held that even if 2A was not available, then also based on its books of accounts, Airtel could have claimed these credits. And based on that, the court held that no rectification is permissible, nor any refund should be granted. So a very important ruling on the point that the books of accounts of taxpayers is the foremost and the portal is secondary only. The next ruling is on withholding of IGST refund. There's a Telangana High Court ruling. In this case, the petitioner exported goods on payment of GST and filed refund. Due to some system error, the refund was rejected. So this is what the High Court held. The High Court held that, so in this case, a system error was an alert which was issued due to which, as per which all tier 2 suppliers, means suppliers of the petitioner, they were not genuine. And to that extent, ITC is not available. Based on that, a block was put in the portal that petitioner's refund should not be granted. So the High Court held that as petitioner's immediate suppliers were genuine, ITC should be granted. There is no provision which requires petitioner to verify genuineness of its suppliers, and especially suppliers as well. Therefore, the court held that either full refund should be granted. In any case, the law mandates that 90% of refund should be immediately granted. So that was allowed by the High Court. The next important ruling is in case of taxability of arbitration award, which was received post GST. This is an advanced ruling. In this case, the applicant executed works contract prior to introduction of GST, and it received various amounts post GST. So these amounts were in the nature of unpaid amounts, outstanding amounts, interest on delayed payments, etc. So the advanced ruling held that because the supply was made pre-GST, therefore these amounts cannot be taxable under GST regime. A very important and correct ruling. The other issues which the advanced ruling authority dealt was the cost of arbitration, because these arbitration services were rendered post GST. So the authority rightly concluded that these are taxable under reverse charge mechanism in GST regime. Liquidated damages on the consistent thread which the authorities have been following, that because the cost of liquidation was determined post GST, it's a consideration for tolerating an act under Schedule 2, and therefore GST is payable. As far as liquidated damages, we have discussed umpteen times that this is incorrect, because this is in the nature of damages. It does not qualify as supply at first place. But yes, on the first point, for transactions executed pre-GST and where any subsequent payments, interest, etc. are realized later, a very important and correct ruling. Intermediary services, another disputed issue. So this is Allahabad Tribunal. In this case, an Indian company was supporting its Hong Kong-based group company in procurement of goods. And this support was not in relation of facilitating purchase orders, etc. It was more in the nature of managing logistics as well. So in turn, the Hong Kong entity was procuring goods from the Indian third parties. So the question was whether these services qualify as intermediary or not. So the tribunal held that parent company and subsidiary are distinct legal entities. These services were provided by Indian company on its own account. It does not qualify as intermediary services, and it qualifies as export of service. Correct ruling and important ruling on vexed issue of intermediary. The next, another important ruling is refund of service tax paid post GST under reverse charge mechanism. So a lot of disputes we are seeing under GST regime where departmental audits or investigations are happening now, where some reverse charge payments were missed by the taxpayers, where additional CVD SAT due to non-fulfillment of export obligation under advance authorization EPCG, all those things are coming up. So the facts in this case before the tribunal was that the appellant received services from its parent companies, which qualified as import of services. It pays service tax after introduction of GST. When it realized that it is not entitled for CENVAT credit and it is eligible to claim refund under GST law, it filed a refund claim. So the Allahabad Tribunal in this case relied on section 142 subsection 3. It said that this provision allows refund of CENVAT credit. The tax which has been paid under reverse charge mechanism qualifies as CENVAT credit, and therefore refund is available. A very important ruling which will come handy to many taxpayers who are paying these old taxes now.